It's always a great pleasure to have you join us on Healthy Living with yours sincerely, Oluwiji. Today on Healthy Living, we're looking at something that already some cases has been recorded, yes, and so it deemed it fit for us to say, yes, let's beam our searchlight on this. And to do that with us is a person of Professor Ayebo Sado. She is a consultant pediatrician, Department of Child Health, UBTH, and Directorate Institute of Child Health, UNIBEN. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
Nice to be here.
All right, so today we're looking at diphtheria, the signs and the symptoms. First off, what is diphtheria?
So, diphtheria is an infectious disease that is caused by an organism that's called Corynebacterium diphtheria. And so it affects the respiratory tract, and it causes pain in the throat, so say pharyngitis. It can also be tonsillitis. It can affect the larynx, which is the voice box. And so how does the person present? So the person presents with a sore throat, and then this progresses, is unable to swallow. So for children, they start to drool saliva. There's fever, and then there's swelling of the neck glands. So we would describe that as a bull neck. So the neck becomes very big. And then when complications arise, so it leads to obstruction of the airway. In fact, the disease used to be called the strangling angel of children because it used to cause a lot of death in children. So when the organism affects it's resident in the airway, it releases a toxin which kills the cells in that area, usually over the tonsils, the pharynx, and forms a very thick membrane. Now, this membrane can get dislodged and occlude the airway, which can then lead to suffocation. Also, the swelling around there can also occlude the airway, causing obstruction, and so the child dies from airway obstruction. But also importantly is that the organism releases a toxin which can affect the heart. So it can cause a myocarditis, so a lot of children die from that. It can also affect the nervous system, causing paralysis of different nerves. It can also cause kidney injury. So diphtheria can be a systemic illness. So there are different types. We have the nasal diphtheria, in which you'll find the membrane is on the nasal membrane in the nostril. So if you look in the child's nose, you see a dirty gray membrane, and the child can have a nasal discharge, which is blood stained. Then we have the pharyngeal diphtheria, which is the one that causes the sore throat. And when you look in the throat, you will see the grayish, dirty membrane there also. Then we have the laryngeal, which affects the voice box, and the child presents with changes in the voice, so the voice becomes hoarse. We also have skin diphtheria, what we call cutaneous diphtheria. So you have ulcers, and you also have that dirtish membrane there, and the wound just refuses to heal. And so that's how diphtheria is.
Okay, now first off, you made mention of when you look at the child's nostrils, you find it, I know when you look at the child nostrils, it's reddish.
No, you find the membrane. It's grayish.
No, that's in the symptoms of one having diphtheria.
Yes, when you have diphtheria.
When you don't have diphtheria,
it's usually pink.
Yes, it's usually pink. Yes, not red. Usually pink. So when the mother looks at the child's membrane now, the nostrils, it finds the greenish or grayish, yes, grayish substance. So the parent needs to take an action to quickly go to the hospital.
So not just the membrane will not just be there alone. There'll be other features. The child will have fever, and then they'll be discharged.
That will be posed before the parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's so pleasing to know that since December 2022, Nigeria has been dealing with severe outbreak of diphtheria, resulting in 471 deaths over 7,400 confirmed cases and 12,000 suspected cases as of 28 September 2023. Now, there is a reoccurrence of this just this year.
So,
so in all of this,
to correct the statistics.
Okay.
As at I think that would be May this year, we've had over 43,000 suspected cases in Nigeria, and about 26,000 plus have been confirmed, and we have over 1,000 deaths. So giving a case fatality rate of 5.2%.
Now in all of this, the reason why I decided to bring out this research, now why the upsurge in diphtheria?
Okay, so it's something that has been, let's say, is a disaster that has been sitting, waiting to occur. So our immunization statistics have been very poor for a very long time. And so you just have generations of children who are inadequately vaccinated. And then if you look at the states where that happen to be the epicenter for this current outbreak, Kano, Katsina, Yobe, Borno, and Bauchi, you find out that their vaccination coverage has been very low. In some years, they have something like 3%. So when you have a build-up of people who are not immunized, it just takes one person coming into that community with the infectious agent, and then just spreads like wildfire. So that's what happened.
Okay. Now, someone actually said children from the age of 5 are prone to this ailment, are prone to this infection. Now, how true is that?
Any unvaccinated person is prone. Any unvaccinated.
So, are we saying diphtheria is just for children or children and adults?
So, interestingly, because the organism is endemic in Nigeria, so to say, over time, people get exposed, but may not necessarily have the disease. So you find out that as you get older, you develop immunity, maybe from injuries that become infected and things like that. So basically, children, they are born without protection, and so it takes time for them to build their immunity. And that's why most of the cases are in children. So for this particular outbreak since 2022, almost, that's about 63 or 64% of them have been in children aged 1 to 14 years. But there have been adults who have been affected also.
Okay, so have there been research to find out that, okay, these children, they weren't vaccinated?
So, about 20, approximately 20% were the ones that were fully vaccinated. All others were not vaccinated. So we're talking about almost 80% of the children were not vaccinated.
Okay. Now, if we look at diphtheria and that of tonsillitis, do they pose the same symptoms?
So when we say tonsillitis or sore throat or pharyngitis, they are so tonsils, they're organs that we have in the throat. Everybody has that. So from time to time they become infected, and then you have a sore throat. So when the organism causing that infection is diphtheria, then you have diphtheria. Right. So the symptoms are usually similar, but the what gives diphtheria away is that adherent pseudomembrane that's there in the sore throat, and then by the time you have the enlarged glands giving you the bull neck, then you'd say diphtheria. So they're similar. So actually, pharyngitis, exudative tonsillitis are all differentials of diphtheria.
Okay, let's look at the public awareness as far as diphtheria is concerned. So what has your unit been able to do to make the public aware that this is what is happening now in our society?
Well, for us, from time to time, we, that's in the Institute of Child Health now, we create awareness on different
platforms,
illnesses. So when we had the outbreak last year, this is not the first one in Edo State, for your information. We have had previous outbreaks, even as far back as 2008. We had 2008, 2009, we had an outbreak, and then last year we had about 20 cases in Edo State that were managed. We managed about 19 of them in UBTH. So we also created awareness amongst our healthcare workers, and we even went ahead and did a research amongst the healthcare workers to see their level of immunity. And indeed, some of them didn't have any immunity, and they all went on to get vaccinated. So yeah, we did that.
Okay. All right, in case you just joined us, we are looking at diphtheria, the signs and the symptoms. Now, when we come back, we'll talk more about the symptoms. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for rejoining us on the program Healthy Living. Now, we've talked about some of the symptoms. Now, someone out there will want to know, what other signs am I supposed to look out for? My child tells me, Mommy, my body's hurt, I can't swallow, and all of that. So what other signs are there that one needs to look out for and say, oh, this is a call for me to quickly get my child to the hospital before it becomes an emergency case?
So in the face of an outbreak, any child who's complaining about a sore throat should be brought to the hospital. Any child who says, I can't swallow, should be brought to the hospital. Any child who complains of a sore throat and the neck is swollen should bring that child to the hospital. So even in school, if a teacher notices, oh, this child has swollen glands in the neck and hot and maybe is refusing his feet, that kind of child should be brought to the hospital. So it's important that we all recognize the symptoms so that we can do the needful, get to the hospital fast, so that a trained healthcare worker can examine the throat of that child. So it's very important that we do that. Beyond that, caregivers should go back and look at the immunization cards of their children to find out whether they actually completed their immunization. So if you know that your child didn't complete immunization, then you should go to, as a matter of urgency, go and get it completed. So the particular vaccine that protects against diphtheria is the pentavalent vaccine, and it's supposed to be received at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks. So 3 doses. So some children don't get the complete dose. And if you
as
don't
a
get
result
the
of the
dose,
parents, not even, some parents, they don't remember the days they ought to take their child to go take these vaccines.
so
And this is as a result of
the
them not
child
going for that vaccine.
did not complete the vaccination, then that child is potentially at risk. Now, let me say this from the public health point of view. Yes, your child may have completed the vaccination, but we also know that when we vaccinate children, if you vaccinate about 100 children, let's say 100 children, some of them may not respond adequately. But the fact that the remainder have responded, they serve as protection for these few persons who didn't respond. So when you have an outbreak like this, because many children are not vaccinated, then you start finding that some of the children who have been vaccinated can actually come down with the illness. That's why up to about 20% of the cases that have been recorded in Nigeria were actually fully vaccinated.
All right, so how can diphtheria be distinguished from other respiratory infections, such as strep throat or pneumonia?
So pneumonia presents quite differently. So for pneumonia, they will present with fever, they present with cough and fast breathing or difficulty in breathing. So when you have those constellation of signs, that's more likely pneumonia than diphtheria, which causes an upper respiratory infection. We just want people to recognize the symptoms and come to the hospital. It's not for you to sit down at home and decide this is, I think this is pneumonia or this is just ordinary sore throat. No, that ordinary sore throat may actually be diphtheria. Some people have mild cases, others have severe cases. So,
okay, now someone just said they need you to help with the signs again for one out there to know, okay, this is what I need to watch out for?
So, your
First up,
child,
number one is
fever,
fever.
then sore throat.
Okay.
So those two have to go together. So if the child complains of sore throat and is febrile, or complains of difficulty with swallowing or painful swallowing, and then if it goes further is drooling saliva, especially for the younger ones, then you should be in a hurry to get to the hospital. Other signs are the bull neck. By the time we are getting to bull neck, we are already running late. So early on, when the child complains, it's refusing feeds for the
And
very young
says,
ones,
Mom,
refusing
I have
pulling
issues
food in
with
their
my-
mouth
yeah.
because they can't swallow, then you should be in the hospital.
Okay, okay. So what's government effort in all of this? What's their impact in all of this?
Well, for the northern states, the government had to do rounds of vaccinating children who were at risk. So they did that. For some communities, they had to do booster dosing. Booster doses are given to people who have already had the complete schedule, but maybe their immunity have waned, so they did that. So that's what they did in northern states. I'm also aware that in Edo State, during the big catch-up, which was done earlier in the year, they had 3 rounds during which children who were aged 0 to 5 years also got vaccinated. But it's from some of the cases that we've had in this current outbreak, some of them were not vaccinated.
Okay. All right. So in all of this, we are saying that basically, can one abstain from diphtheria?
Well, because it's an airborne thing, and then close contact with the respiratory secretions of an index case, it's for example, what we do when you have an index case, the close contact for that person usually will give what we call prophylaxis. So we give a medication that's prophylaxis for those people, and those people should also wear masks. So if somebody has a respiratory illness, that person should wear a mask, and those around should also wear masks. So perhaps it's a good idea to wear a mask where you have people who are coughing and have upper respiratory illnesses, because the disease is actually airborne.
Okay, so quickly now, your advice to, first off, let's talk to parents out there, your advice to parents.
So my advice is for those who have not vaccinated their children, please take your child for vaccination. For those who have vaccinated their children, if you notice any symptom, sore throat, painful swallowing, refusal to feed, drooling of saliva, fever, swelling in the neck, then we should get that child to hospital for a trained healthcare worker to examine the child.
Okay, now then for those, the proprietors,
So for when a child has any of those symptoms, the child should automatically not come to school until...
So this is like a warning to parents. You know your child is down with this, and you're still insistent on the child going to school. It's a no-no.
Because the other thing that the state is doing and did with the last case, outbreak last year, is that if we have one case, they go online, list the contacts, and they follow them up for about 10 days, which is the 10 to 14 days, which is the incubation period of the organism. So if you develop symptoms, then you need to be evaluated for diphtheria. And it's very important because close contacts can develop symptoms. So in the last outbreak last year, we had a family where 3 children were affected, 1 died. And in this current outbreak, we have had 2 siblings affected, 1 died. So it's important that if one child has an issue, bring the child to the hospital for evaluation. And if diphtheria is suspected, then every other person in that household should be on prophylaxis.
Okay, so in a nutshell, we're saying vaccination is key in all of
Vaccination
this.
is very important. Yeah.
Okay, now to government. So what's your own take?
Well, my advice to government is that they should review the statistics and also review the research evidence so that they can take appropriate decisions.
Measures.
Because there are some research evidence that the government needs to pay attention to for them to look at our vaccination schedule again so that we ensure that children are protected throughout the period of childhood.
Okay, so are we saying that can diphtheria be prevented? Can it be prevented in our society?
Yes, it's a highly preventable disease. And I said to you that it used to be called the strangling angel of children until vaccination came on board. So it's because our vaccination
it's not taken seriously.
Got so low, that's why we are in where we are now.
Yeah.
So for diphtheria, as a matter of fact, diphtheria is easily prevented by vaccination. You need just about 80–85% coverage for you to break transmission, unlike something like measles, where you need like 95% coverage for you to break transmission. So all these diseases had been
eradicated.
Well, we won't say eradication, at least reduced considerably. So
To
it's
the
very
disheartening,
disheartening, disheartening to people like us that we're beginning to see them again. Throughout my training, we saw maybe 1 or 2 cases, and then now as a consultant, I'm practicing, I'm seeing, I've seen so many cases that it bothers me that our immunization program is not doing as well as it ought to.
All right, you have heard it all from Dr. Mrs. Sado. She has said it, that the key is vaccination. We need to go back to our drawing board. To parents, women, yes, we know we are really preoccupied by so many things. We actually don't take note of the dates of immunization, but it's really, really key right now. Now, you said talked about the name of the vaccination. Please, can you?
Pentavalent vaccine.
Okay, and you said
so,
what month?
There's also some very important information with regard to vaccination.
Yeah.
So, in the past, they used to give tetanus toxoid to pregnant women. So now they give tetanus diphtheria to pregnant women so that their babies are born protected both against diphtheria and tetanus. So pregnant women also ensure that you take your vaccine so that your young infant is born protected. So vaccination against diphtheria in the young infant starts at the age of 6 weeks. So they when you vaccinate the mother transmits some antibodies to the baby, and that covers the baby for at least the first 6 weeks before the baby starts his own vaccination. So it's very important. So for the young infant, we do that with pentavalent vaccine. Now for older people, if you discover that your child didn't get vaccines when he was an infant, you can use the tetanus diphtheria to conduct the vaccination for those children if they are older than 4.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. We have heard it all from our doctor, the person of Professor Ayabo Sado. She is a consultant pediatrician, Department of Child Health, UBTH, and Director, Institute of Child Health, UNIBEN. All we need to do is take vaccination very, very seriously, okay? To our mothers, please do well to protect your child. So we'll be seeing you again next week for another exciting time on Healthy Living. Stay healthy.